You're about to witness the most devastating political takedown in Australian media history. What Sky News host Paul Murray just exposed about Anthony Albanese's secret agenda will make your blood boil and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about our democracy. This isn't just politics as usual, this is a calculated assault on the very foundations of how Australia operates, and Murray just ripped the mask off Albanese's true intentions with surgical precision. Right now, as you're watching this video, Anthony Albanese and his Labour cronies are sitting in back rooms, plotting to fundamentally transform Australia into something unrecognizable. They think they can slip their radical agenda past us while we're distracted by cost of living pressures and international crises, but Paul Murray just threw a massive wrench into their carefully orchestrated plan, and the fallout is absolutely explosive. Here's what the mainstream media doesn't want you to know, what Labour's spin doctors are desperately trying to suppress, and what has Albanese's inner circle in absolute panic mode right now. Murray didn't just criticize the government, he exposed their entire playbook, revealed their secret strategy, and connected dots that will leave you stunned at the sheer audacity of what they are attempting to pull off right under our noses. The bombshell revelation came during Murray's primetime show when he delivered what can only be described as a masterclass in political journalism. With the precision of a surgeon and the intensity of a prosecutor, Murray systematically dismantled Albanese's carefully crafted public image and exposed the terrifying reality of what Labour's reform agenda actually means for ordinary Australians. The Prime Minister and his team, this is the moment they plan to modify the system to essentially implement the Daniel Andrews model of governance on a national scale, Murray declared, and those words should send chills down the spine of every freedom-loving Australian. We're talking about the Daniel Andrews model, the same authoritarian approach that turned Victoria into a virtual police state during the pandemic, where dissent was crushed, freedoms were trampled, and government power expanded beyond all recognition. But Murray didn't stop there, he went nuclear. He methodically laid out how Albanese's so-called reforms are nothing more than a smokescreen for the most radical transformation of Australian governance since Federation. We're not talking about tweaking policies or adjusting regulations, we're talking about fundamentally altering how power operates in this country, concentrating authority in ways that would make the founding fathers of our democracy roll in their graves. The timing of Murray's expose couldn't be more critical, and the reaction from Albanese's office tells you everything you need to know about how close to the truth Murray got. Within hours of the broadcast, Labour's media machine went into overdrive, desperately trying to discredit Murray's analysis and deflect attention from the uncomfortable truths he revealed. When politicians panic this quickly and this visibly, you know a journalist has struck gold. What Murray uncovered is a systematic campaign by Labour to reshape Australia's institutional framework without proper consultation, without transparency, and certainly without the explicit consent of the Australian people. They are using the language of reform and modernisation to disguise what is essentially a power grab of unprecedented proportions. This isn't about improving government efficiency or streamlining bureaucracy. This is about consolidating control and eliminating the checks and balances that protect our democratic freedoms. The Daniel Andrews comparison is absolutely devastating because every Australian who lived through Victoria's lockdown nightmare knows exactly what that model looks like in practice. We saw how quickly temporary emergency measures became permanent features of governance. We witnessed how dissent was criminalized, how media was manipulated, and how individual rights were sacrificed on the altar of government convenience. And now Murray's revealed that Albanese wants to take that same authoritarian playbook and implement it nationwide. Murray's analysis didn't just focus on the what, he exposed the how. He detailed the specific mechanisms Labour is using to advance their agenda while keeping the public in the dark. We're talking about regulatory changes that bypass parliamentary scrutiny, administrative reforms that concentrate power in the Prime Minister's office, and institutional modifications that weaken traditional oversight mechanisms. This is governance by stealth, democracy by deception. The most chilling aspect of Murray's revelation is how Labour's been using crisis as cover for their radical agenda. Every economic challenge, every international tension, every social issue becomes an excuse for expanding government power and reducing individual freedoms. They create the problem, manufacture the crisis, and then present their authoritarian solutions as the only viable option. It's a playbook straight out of every totalitarian regime in history. What has Albanese absolutely terrified is that Murray connected the dots between seemingly unrelated policy initiatives and exposed the underlying pattern. Labour's attacks on free speech aren't isolated incidents, they are part of a comprehensive strategy to control information and suppress dissent. Their regulatory reforms aren't bureaucratic housekeeping, they are designed to eliminate opposition and concentrate decision-making power. Their institutional changes aren't administrative improvements, they are calculated moves to bypass democratic accountability. Murray's forensic analysis revealed how Labour's been using euphemistic language to disguise their true intentions. When they talk about modernizing democracy, they mean eliminating inconvenient democratic processes. When they discuss streamlining government, they mean concentrating power in fewer hands. When they promote responsive governance, they mean reducing the ability of citizens to influence government decisions. It's Orwellian doublespeak at its most sophisticated and dangerous. The reaction from Labour's media allies has been absolutely predictable and utterly revealing. Instead of addressing the substance of Murray's allegations, they've launched personal attacks, questioned his motives, and tried to discredit him through character assassination. When you can't refute the arguments, attack the messenger. It's the oldest trick in the authoritarian playbook, and Murray's critics are following it to the letter. What makes Murray's expose so devastating is his meticulous documentation of Labour's pattern of deception. He didn't just make sweeping allegations, he provided specific examples, detailed timelines, and connected seemingly unrelated events to reveal a comprehensive strategy that's been years in the making. This isn't conspiracy theory, this is investigative journalism at its finest, holding power accountable with facts, evidence, and relentless scrutiny. The parallels Murray drew to the Daniel Andrews era are particularly damning because they are based on documented history, not speculation. We can see exactly how Victoria's temporary emergency powers became permanent features of government. We witnessed how public health measures became tools of political control. We observed how crisis management became an excuse for eliminating democratic norms. And now we can see Albanese following the exact same playbook on a national scale. Murray's analysis revealed how Labour's been systematically undermining the institutions that protect Australian democracy. They've been weakening parliamentary oversight, reducing judicial independence, compromising media freedom, and eliminating the checks and balances that prevent authoritarian overreach. Each individual change might seem minor, but collectively they represent a fundamental transformation of how power operates in Australia. The most terrifying aspect of what Murray exposed is how far advanced Labour's plan already is. This isn't something they are planning to do, this is something they are actively implementing right now. While Australians have been distracted by economic pressures and international crises, Albanese's team has been quietly reshaping the machinery of government to serve their authoritarian vision. By the time most people realize what's happening, it might be too late to stop it. Murray's revelation about the Daniel Andrews model going national is particularly chilling when you consider the implications for federal governance. We're talking about a system where dissent is criminalized, where media is controlled, where individual rights are subordinated to government convenience, and where democratic accountability becomes a meaningless formality. This is the blueprint Albanese wants to implement across the entire country. The timing of Labour's power grab couldn't be more calculated or more dangerous. They are using multiple crises, economic, social, international, to justify emergency measures that become permanent features of governance. Every challenge becomes an excuse for expanding government power, every problem becomes a reason for reducing individual freedom, every crisis becomes an opportunity for authoritarian overreach. What has Albanese's team in absolute panic is that Murray didn't just expose their current agenda, he revealed their long-term strategy. This isn't about winning the next election or implementing specific policies, this is about permanently altering the balance of power in Australian society. They want to create a system where government power is essentially unlimited, where individual rights are privileges granted by the state, and where democratic accountability is reduced to a meaningless ritual. Murray's expose has blown apart Labour's carefully constructed narrative about being reasonable moderates focused on practical governance. He's revealed them as radical authoritarians implementing a comprehensive strategy to fundamentally transform Australia into something our founders would never recognise. This isn't reform, it's revolution, and it's happening right under our noses with the mainstream media acting as willing accomplices. The most damning evidence Murray presented was Labour's pattern of using deceptive language to disguise their true intentions. Every authoritarian measure is presented as a reasonable response to genuine challenges. Every power grab is justified as necessary reform. Every reduction in democratic accountability is sold as streamlined efficiency. They are not just changing policies, they are changing the language we use to discuss those policies. What makes this moment so critical is that Murray has given Australians the information they need to recognise what's really happening and take action before it's too late. This isn't just about politics, this is about the future of Australian democracy, the protection of individual rights, and the preservation of the freedoms that make Australia the great country it is. The question now is whether enough Australians will wake up to the threat before Albanese's authoritarian transformation becomes irreversible. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Australian News CC family where the real stories come to life. See you in the next one.